All right, this is Jim from Jagermeister. We're here in not so sunny Bournemouth, seeing as it's night time, but we're here for a special reason. Coheed Cambria are headlining the ice cold event here tonight, and we're here with Claudio now. How's it going, man?
Oh, it's good, man. Just hanging. Yeah, killing the day.
You've just been playing video games, basically.
Well, actually, I've actually been that and scripting a new series my wife and I are going to be working on when I get home, a new comic series.
Another one?
Yeah.
Where did you get the time to do this?
Right now. This is the perfect time. There's really nothing to do at the moment, at least that I want to do, other than, just sit on my iPad and go back and forth between books, comics, writing, and games. So, I mean, it's a pretty handy device, the iPad.
That's the endorsement right there.
Yeah,
if they don't give you free ones. But it's kind of weird because most bands I speak to, they say that when they're on the road, it's sort of like a creative dead zone. They don't get the chance to write because they're doing like 101 other things. It seems to be the opposite for you. Like from what you're saying, you're thriving on this sort of environment.
Yeah, I mean, I do, like, when it comes time to writing music, I do like to be in my secure space at home. But, there is a lot of hurry up and wait sort of pockets of time that, I just need to do something with. So that's sometimes what kind of comes in handy with the comic writing is that, I don't really need a whole lot to do that. I don't need a rig to record. All I really need is like an iPad or a computer or something, and that's about it.
I'm curious, how do you go about scripting a comic book? Because, I mean, I can sort of understand the method for scripting, say, a film or a TV pilot, but is it not difficult to work without an artist or without the art to shape it? Or?
I mean, not necessarily. I mean, it is a plus to have like character sketches, I guess, to kind of see them, but for the most part, I mean, usually that's all in your character development, when you're just sitting there kind of constructing your characters and then kind of how they're going to move through your story. I mean, that's really all kind of plotted out in language, in my way anyway. So it's pretty easy. I mean, not easy, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, you've just like Bendis, Morrison.
No, it's definitely not easy. I don't think I need the visual counterpart at this stage in the game, if that makes any sense.
I'm curious as well, sort of tying in with the comic book theme that we're just talking about. When it comes to writing an album, like with comic books, there's a sense of continuity that you have to get for the fans. Say, if you were writing like an Avengers comic, say, you'd have to find out what, Hulk was doing at that specific time. Is that a similar thing? Like you have to be so detailed with these kind of things to...
Yeah, I mean, all depending on the title that I'm writing for. Like with the Amory Wars, it's already got pre-existing material. I certainly have to be aware of that continuity. Whereas like the story, say I'm working on now, it's a brand new story. I can really start wherever I'd like.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, my wife and I. Amory Wars is totally related to the Coheed concept, but then we have other titles that aren't related, like Key of Z, which is like a zombie apocalypse tale, Kill Audio, which is sort of like a play on my likeness, that's more of like a rock and roll Ghostbusters, and then another one that I'm working on now. But, the other two we're working on sequels for, so sure, in terms of continuity, you need to be wary of certain things, but like the one that I'm working on now, again, it's brand new, so it's just it's kind of full reign. There's nothing that's really tying me down to anything at the moment. So it's really just kind of plotting out what is going to be this series. So
I've got to ask, as a comic book reader and fan, where are you going with this one? What's it so far?
It's going to be my first superhero.
Really?
Yeah. But that's all I can really say about it at the moment. It's still just sort of getting fleshed out right now, and trying to figure out kind of what my panel layouts are going to be, just like what ultimately the aesthetic is going to be. So we'll see.
That must be quite hard as well to actually create a superhero without subconsciously referencing all the guys you grew up with, like Batman, Superman, etc.
I mean, some of those characters are going to get in there somehow. You know what I mean? It's just there's so much of a history there and such a a dense world in terms of like whether it be Marvel, DC, or any of the other Image or whatever have you. It's there's so much of it there, you can't avoid it. You know what I mean? So you just try your best to be as unique as possible and do something new and refreshing.
So are you reading anything right now, or are you sort of like cutting yourself off completely while you're working on this?
Well, no. I am. I like to read some things as reference. I'm certain, and Alan Moore is, I think, one of my favorites. Because I've always just kind of want the feel and the rhythm of the story to kind of. I mean, I just like the way he has done it with Watchmen and V for Vendetta. So I'm actually rereading those and just kind of looking at the panel layouts and just those are big references for me. So certainly the Watchmen. So I find that I always, whenever I come back to the Watchmen, it usually means that I'm working on something new.
Right.
So yeah.
I'm curious as to whether you've read before Watchmen. Have you started in on that?
I have not. No. Is it good?
It's not terrible.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I haven't read it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe at some point, but it's just tough. I guess my expectations would be pretty high because Watchmen is such like the Bible in my opinion of my comic book reading. So I don't want to be a purist to just to be a purist and say that I'm never going to give them a go, but at the moment I really haven't. What I've been liking of recent new, Grant Morrison's Happy. I just read the second issue.
You got the second one?
Yeah.
It's so awesome.
Yeah, I like the way it ends. I really did.
Don't tell me, and don't tell these nice people.
Yeah, at first I wasn't sure about the first issue. I mean, it grew on me as I got further into it, and then my wife actually she gifted me the second issue on like Comixology, and I read it the other night, and I'm starting to really like it. And I like Robertson's work too. Like off of Transmetropolitan. Yeah, that's one of my favorite Ellis books. And then The Boys. So it's nice to see him on this title.
Have you read Fatale yet? The Brubaker new one.
No, I have not.
You should. It's so good.
I'll give that a go. Fatale. Is that
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely, that would be my one recommendation for this. If you take nothing else away from this entire interview, take that away.
Okay,
that'd be good. So you're essentially releasing the second part of this latest album. Why the decision to do it that way, two separate parts, rather than as like a whole massive body of work?
Well, like the first album, almost in that like sort of comic tradition, like the idea of the cliffhanger. I think that's kind of what I was going for with the first album, is like kind of posing this sonic cliffhanger and basically kind of posing more questions than answers with that album, and the next record is it feels like the conclusion. You kind of find out why, so I guess that was it. It was just to kind of leave it, that way, keep a want for the second half, so yeah.
So is the second half a complete? That's it. Like, there's not going to be any extra bits for that. Like, there's not going to be a twist at the end or a second cliffhanger.
Sort of. Yeah, there's sort of a cliffhanger, but it's still like the conclusion to that story. I mean, ultimately, Ascension and Descension, they make up the origin story of the Afterman. So Descension ends, I think, on a brighter note than the title suggests. But it certainly leads us into the possibilities of other stories afterwards with that character.
It seems like you're not short of ideas.
I'm not. This is what I like to do. I like to spend my time kind of in my own head and just kind of creating as much as possible, whether it is music or if it's concepts for comics or whatever have you. So.
I think you've just defined what it is to be an artist, basically, just right there.
Oh, hell yeah. Cool, man. That's awesome.
Well, thanks, man. Appreciate it.